from 8 to 10:30, there will be an event at Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital about diabetes and you.
And Jennifer is a registered professional counselor for diabetics, and that's aside and in addition to your being a registered dietitian, right?
Yeah, certified diabetes educator or CDE credential. That's something that not just a dietitian, but a lot of licensed healthcare professionals can work towards that certification. But yeah, that's an addition.
And we who aren't close to anybody who has diabetes don't understand the ramifications of this, and it goes beyond diet. I think it's common knowledge that you're supposed to watch your diet. But exercise is a big component too, is it not? And Todd, I'm sure that in your department, being rehabilitation, you see diabetic people who are having a terrible time with their parts. Your foot will get bad and your hand will get bad. And what can you do from an exercise perspective?
Well, it's important early on when you realize that you are starting to have symptoms of diabetes that exercise become an important part of your lifestyle. You really need to make a lifestyle change. Exercise can help regulate your blood sugar. It can help the existing insulin do its job. If you let your blood sugars get too high, you have all kinds of different problems with joints, skin, muscles, nerves. Once it gets a hold of you and it's too late, it's very hard to overcome those. The key is to early on to start doing the preventative measures, and exercise is a big part of that.
And toward that end, you're planning this affair that since made reference to, the diabetes fair, and that'll be this Saturday. Jennifer, can you tell us the time and place, the who, when, where, when, and why?
Sure. Diabetes and You Health Fair is sponsored by Memorial Physician Services, Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and Healthy Communities Partnership. And it'll be this Saturday, February 18th from 8 to 10:30 a.m. We'll be having 4 different experts speak. Kat Tuholk, who is a advanced nurse practitioner with Memorial Physician Services, Dr. Todd Mourning, Director of ALMH Rehab Services, myself, and Jude Clapper, who's also a dietitian and certified diabetes educator who works with Memorial Health Systems. And what we'll be doing is giving mini presentations. Kat will be talking about know your numbers, the things that you need to keep track of from doctor visit to doctor visit to help make sure that you're on the right track to improving your health with diabetes. Todd will be talking about exercise and the importance of preventing onset of diabetes and proper treatment of it with exercise. I'll be talking about healthy cooking and food choices when you're preparing meals to help promote a normalized blood sugar. And then Jude's going to be talking about behavior modification techniques to build it into your lifestyle to make healthy choices in order to improve your diabetes health.
Now, Todd, you talked about early detection. What should people look for?
Well, I think Jennifer's more qualified to speak on that than me. So,
well, I think the most important first step that everybody can do is see your doctor for your yearly physical. Honestly, how many people do you run into who don't go to the doctor on a regular basis, and then after 5 years of not going to the doctor, they find out, I've got diabetes, or I have some other health condition that I wasn't aware of. And it's usually because people put off going for regular screenings. When you get those regular screenings, if your physician notices that your blood sugar's creeping up or it's already at a pre-diabetic or diabetic level, then they can start a health care plan for you. But usual warning signs for people with diabetes who haven't been diagnosed, feeling thirsty all the time, going to the bathroom a lot, noticing that you're getting shaky or sweaty, feeling anxious or nervous in relationship to when you have eaten and what you have eaten.
Todd, as far as exercise goes, when we were on vacation, we met a friend who was from Lincoln too, and she was down there, and we had dinner together, and she is a diabetic and was diagnosed not as a child, but as an adult, and she was having a terrible time regulating her blood sugar, but she's very athletic and very busy. She swims a mile a day, and she walks, and she plays golf, and she's just exercising all the time. So is it possible that that's too much of a good thing sometimes?
Well, when you exercise, you are burning sugars. Your muscle uses that sugar as fuel to do your activities. Typically, in type 2 diabetes, where you are insulin resistant, exercise will help your muscles to become more accepting of the using the glucose. In type 1, when you are not producing insulin, exercise can help to work very similar to insulin and get the blood sugar into the muscles to burn. So I and Jennifer, you can correct me if I go astray, which does happen. Although Bill's not here to lead me astray today. If you are uncontrolled diabetic and you are exercising too much, it can cause those swings. Your body has a harder time getting regulated. Moderate intensity exercise of a structured basis, where you're doing the same thing over and over and over, can help your body to acclimate to the activities you're doing, and it can kind of prepare for these activities. Now, Jennifer was telling me on the way up here, there's a latent effect sometimes to exercise. You can exercise hard today, and then as your body is replenishing the stores tomorrow, replenishing those glucose stores, you've burned off so much of it, now you don't have enough glucose in your system, so it can definitely cause swings. That's why it's very important when you're getting ready to exercise. You need to pay attention to what you're eating. You need to check your sugars before, during, and after exercise to make sure you're in the right in the ballpark. And you need to make sure you have proper emergency care, such as a glucose tablet or lifesaver or something like that, in case you burn up all your glucose and you need to replenish.
Now, it seemed to me that I could remember someone else I knew who used to they'd give her a little orange juice when she was having a problem. That would be to restore the sugars, glucose?
Yeah, usually having about 15 grams of simple sugar, whether it's from 4 ounces of orange juice or 3 lifesavers or 4 ounces of regular soda or 3 glucose tablets. That's used to treat a low blood sugar. And it's important, though, to realize that after you treat that low blood sugar, you still got to check it again. You got to see if that did the job. Because for a lot of people, especially those who have insulin-dependent diabetes, if they're spiraling down into a low, and if it was related to exercise or just diet or illness, sometimes it's hard to stop that from happening. So one treatment might not do the trick. You need to check after 10-15 minutes, make sure your blood sugar is stabilized or at least increased. And if not, you need to treat again with simple sugar. Then at that point is when you have a small meal or a combination of complex carbohydrates, protein, and fat, because if you don't, then that simple sugar gets burned up within 15 minutes or so, and your blood sugar starts crashing down again.
Have they found anything new, they being the scientists, whereby you don't have to prick your finger?
Well, there's continuous glucose monitoring, or CGM devices, which can be worn all the time. And I think that they should be approved by more insurance companies. I think they need to cough up the bucks and use it, because even though it's an expensive device, it's well worth it for someone who suffers from highs and lows. It can really help you regulate your blood glucose because you can see what's going on all the time. stop it before you get too high or too low.
Uh-huh.
Can we talk about high blood sugar, and can you kind of expand on what impact that has on some of the bodily organs, the eyes, the kidneys, etc.?
Right. Well, experts, endocrinologists, diabetes doctor specialists, they know that if your average blood sugar is outside the normal range or above 140, 150 on a regular basis, that it's actually affecting the cells in your body. They call it glucotoxicity. The blood glucose is actually toxic to our body. And what happens is it gets at the cellular level of our body, and it can destroy tissues. It can damage your nerve endings. And those little blood capillaries, we got our arteries and our veins, and it goes down to little venules and capillaries, that place where we exchange nutrients and oxygen. Those little capillaries, if they're damaged by too much glucose, if they get glucotoxic, they can shrivel up. And then behind our eyes, those same little tiny blood vessels, they can actually explode and cause bleeding. Retinopathy, disease of the retina, and that's what can cause blindness. But at every organ level, we're all different. We can't predict at the onset of diabetes who's going to have problems and who's not. But having high blood sugar on a regular basis, it will promote complications of diabetes, whether that happens in a few years or a lot.
Can a lifestyle lead to diabetes, or what is it that causes it? Is it genetic?
Well, for type 1 diabetes, it's actually not as genetically predisposed as what people would think. A lot of people think that, type 1, I'm going to have more type 1 in my family. But that's really less common. Only 10% chance for, parents with insulin-dependent diabetes to have a child with insulin-dependent. But type 2, very genetic, very lifestyle factor oriented.
Can you please, yes, Todd? No, you may not be excused.
I was glad Jennifer was getting this because I wanted to address this. Typically, in terms of weight loss, learning to control diabetes, any type of health situation that is related to sedentary lifestyle. A lot of those things can be quelled, reversed, halted with a change in lifestyle. And typically it takes three components. In terms of this diabetes, there's diet control, learning what to eat, when to eat, how to eat it. There's an exercise component, and then there's behavior modification. If you're not willing to modify your behavior, you're probably not going to succeed with managing your diabetes and your weight. I've got a couple studies here. There's a study by Erickson that showed that with lifestyle intervention, which was dietary training and physical activity increase, body weight can be reduced 2.3 to 3.7%, which makes sense. If you're exercising, you can lose weight. Glucose tolerance was normalized. This is in type 2 diabetics. Glucose tolerance was normalized in greater than 50% of subjects, and more than 50% of the diabetic subjects were in remission after 6 years. The glucose tolerance was correlated to weight reduction and increased fitness. So what that is saying is that in 50% of the people in this study, their type 2 diabetes was in remission after 6 years, all because of lifestyle choices. So for people who are type 2 diabetics, and I don't want to pull any punches on this, if you are not exercising, if you are not leading an active lifestyle, if you are not actively controlling your diet, you are making a choice that is leading you to further complications down the road. Studies are showing that you can potentially put this disease in remission, and if not that, you can definitely learn to control your symptoms and reduce medications by choosing a different lifestyle.
Can we... Oh,
I'm sorry.
I stepped on you, sorry.
That's okay. One thing you keep talking about is type 1 and type 2, and the reason I'd like a little clarification is because this is what I thought. My husband's a diabetic. That type 2 you had diabetes, but it was controlled by oral medication. Once you made the switch to insulin, it now is type 1. That is not the case. So what is the difference between the two, and can you go from one to the other?
Oh, definitely. There's a big difference. Type 1 diabetes, what we used to call juvenile onset, is when your body does not produce insulin. You have to have it from outside the body, and what we have now is a shot or a pump. Okay. Type 2 diabetes is when your body either doesn't produce enough insulin or it doesn't use that insulin in a good enough way to keep your blood sugar under control. And lots of people that I see at the hospital have type 2 that progresses to insulin dependent, because that natural progression of the disease, it's autoimmune, the cells in your pancreas that make insulin, all of a sudden they say, something's wrong with us, they start killing each other off. Well, at some point, enough of those cells are dead so that you can't produce insulin, and you have to get it from outside the body. So there's a lot of type 2 people taking insulin, and their body still might produce some, but it's either not effective or not enough, so they have to take shots too. And they're looking at, when they change to type 1 and type 2 classification, there's, type 1.5 latent, which can be looked at as having type 2 and then needing insulin, but we haven't really gotten into the swing of using those differentiations yet. So we'll see a lot of type 2 people using insulin.
And typically about 90% of your diabetic patients are type 2. So if you start making proper lifestyle choices, you're affecting a larger portion of the population and hoping to reduce, prevent, or halt the progression of the diabetes, hopefully, for an extended period of time.
At what point does it become necessary to have the shots rather than the pills? Who decides? Well, I suppose the doctor decides it, but on the basis of what? I mean, they don't ever call me about it.
No. Well, physicians have criteria that they go by as far as when to have changes in treatment plan. And if someone's A1C or average blood sugar is 7 or above after they've had diet and exercise intervention with oral medication, with another oral medication, with another oral medication or injectable, and that doesn't get it, then it's time for insulin. Okay, some people can progress to that point very quickly if they haven't made lifestyle change. I mean, very quickly.
Well, and A1C is a very interesting blood test in that it gives you, I believe, a 3-month window on what your average has been. And my father-in-law was diabetic, and they didn't have A1C back there, and he would be really, really good. And then the week before he was going to go to the doctor, he went to the diet he was supposed to do. He got rid of all the crap in the house, all the candy and cookies, and his blood work looked very well.
Yes.
So
no hiding it with the A1C.
Yeah.
Now, hypoglycemia, is that the opposite of diabetes?
Well, as far as our body is concerned, it's almost the opposite. Because with hypoglycemia, what happens is your body produces more insulin than what you need in response to food that you eat or response to activity that you have. So your blood sugar goes too low. For a lot of people, and there's not specific statistics on this yet, but for a lot of people, if you have hypoglycemia and you're predisposed genetically to diabetes, you might develop diabetes later because your insulin production has been so high for a number of years if you have uncontrolled blood sugar that goes too low.
Now, there's a specific diet for hypoglycemia too, but I thought it sounded to me like it mirrored the diet for diabetes.
You got it on the head there, Judy. It's the same thing.
Make a note, Sim. I'll write that on your paper.
Yeah, write that one down. Make sure Bill knows about that.
I will. I'll give him a call.
Yeah, Judy got it right.
Yep, same treatment for controlling blood sugar, whether it tends to go too high or too low. Yeah, and I'll be talking more about that, but, consistent carbohydrate and having protein and heart-healthy fat and a mixture of carbohydrate at your meals.
And And you stay away from the sweets, though, is that right?
You don't have to. You can have
Okay.
simple sugars. It's just best to have them as part of a planned meal where you have that mixture of other nutrients and not too much total carbohydrate. So that then when that simple sugar is used up, your blood sugar's not crashing down. You've got that other stuff to kick in for energy, the complex carbohydrate, the protein, the heart-healthy fat.
But I think a lot of it is just moderation. I mean, if
Very
you get
much.
a bag of Snickers, have one or two, not a bag.
Exactly. Because a lot of people's, and that's why this, some people who have had diabetes for years think, well, I can't have candy, I can't have sweets. Well, you know what? They're probably having it anyway. They just say they can't have it or think they're not supposed to. And it comes down to moderation, meal combination, not going too long between meals, giving your body the right mixture of nutrients to keep your blood sugar stable.
As far as meals, most of us have, breakfast, dinner, and supper. For you that live in rural America, I've heard diabetics should have like 5 small meals a day rather than 3 regular meals.
Well, for a lot of people, that meal plan works for them, the 3 meals a day without snacks. For other people, specifically those who take insulin, because of the timing and amount of their insulin to promote best control, they may need to have snacks between meals. And other people who just choose to eat more frequently. Every individual can make their own meal plan. Everyone's could be different, just as long as it promotes normalized blood sugar. That's what's most important. But skipping meals, that's a soapbox for me. No skipping meals.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
We're going to take a break and listen to a couple of the people who pay the freight here, and we'll be right back.